Hey everybody, this is Ken the Metal Professor. I am the host of Mostly Metal, a heavy metal radio show broadcast on WVLP in Valparaiso, Indiana. We're at 103.1 FM in the Valparaiso vicinity, and then WVLP.org elsewhere. For the last several weeks, I've been putting into my show a playlist of my top 10 favorite songs by various bands, and this week's band is Evergrey. Now, I'm behind schedule with this video to go along with the show because my show airs twice, once on Wednesday night at 10 p.m. U.S. Central, and then a replay Sunday night at 8. I am sitting here Friday evening doing this video, so it's too late to listen to the Wednesday broadcast, but if you want to hear my top 10 songs, my top 10 favorite songs by Evergrey, feel free to tune in Sunday night from 8 to 10. You'll hear other things, other new songs by bands like The Ghost Inside, Disciples of Verity, Detonation Boulevard, Ailstorm, Nightwish, Dark Sarah, and Paradise Lost. And along with those Paradise Lost songs, I did an interview with Greg McIntosh, the guitarist of one of the guitarists of Paradise Lost, and that was in the show, and that interview is also here on this YouTube channel separately, so feel free to go look for it. And sorry for the jump in the video there, but I realized if I'm going to plug my show, I probably ought to have my playlist available, and it wasn't on my screen, so I had to get it on my screen, and now I have to get Evergrey back on my screen. Okay, Evergrey is back on my screen. Sorry for not being totally prepared for this. This isn't my first sitting in front of a camera today. I am teaching an online math class right now, and so I just spent an hour or so making some videos for that class and switching gears from videos of handwriting math to videos where I just sit here and talk at the camera. It's pretty jarring, actually. But what are you going to do? I didn't want to wait any longer. I'm already late on this thing. So, Evergrey, ranking of their albums from not, least favorite to most favorite, not worst to best, because I don't call any of these worst, just preference. They have 11 studio albums altogether. I'm going to kick it off at spot number 11 with The Inner Circle from 2004. This is a popular album among a lot of Evergrey fans, I think. People that I've been around in the music fan scene. I was going to say music scene. That makes me sound like I'm a musician. Definitely not totally consumer, but a lot of friends that are in the music business and that are also in the music scene. Prog Power, right? I know a lot of people love The Inner Circle. To me, it doesn't grab me all the way through. I mean, a couple of monster songs on there, A Touch of Blessing and In the Wake of the Weary especially, but as a total product, it doesn't do much for me. To me, I think it's kind of a drop-off after the album that came before it, Recreation Day, which is higher up in my list. I think I had really high expectations after Recreation Day, and The Inner Circle didn't meet those expectations, I guess. Okay, the next two in the list I'm going to sort of give together. At number 10 is Torn from 2008, and then at number 9 is Monday Morning Apocalypse from 2006. These two albums to me are sort of what Road Salt 1 and 2 were to Pain of Salvation. These two albums are that for Evergrey, but not to that extent. If you listen to Pain of Salvation, and I'm going to do them in a couple of weeks, those two albums are total outliers in their discography. Torn and Monday Morning Apocalypse for Evergrey, they're not total outliers. They're a shift in gear. They went from fewer, longer songs on an album to much more tight and compressed, like 3 to 4 minute songs, perhaps, with more of them on the albums. Maybe 12 or so. They're a little bit dirtier. They're not as thunderous as a lot of the other music on their albums. Broken Wings and Fall and Nothing Is Erased are great tracks off of Torn, and the title track on Monday Morning Apocalypse I love. Obedience, In Remembrance, it's a great moody tune. There are really good songs on these albums, but they are not consistent listens, at least to me, so they stay farther down on the list. Next at number 8 from 1998, The Dark Discovery, their debut album. As Light as Our Darkness and December 26th in particular are great songs. When I first started putting this list together, and I was listening to The Dark Discovery again, I was like, wow, I really dig this, and I put it kind of high up on the list. But then when I'm listening to other things, other CDs, and then I go back to this list, I realize that even though I really enjoyed listening to it at the time, when I see the title tracks, I don't remember these songs now as much as I do songs on any of the other albums. So it's a good listening experience while it's happening, but I don't know that the songs stick with me that much afterwards. So I kind of moved it a little farther down the list. At number 7 is Glorious Collision from 2011. I had to make a note not to call this The Glorious Burden by Iced Earth. And I think I actually typed that in the first couple of times I was making these lists. This is the one that came after Torn and Monday Morning Apocalypse. I think it's a good return to the true form of Evergrey musically, but the production's a little bit dirty. And so I appreciate that they sort of righted the ship. But all in all, I don't know that I like listening to that album that much. Next at 6, Solitude, Dominance, Tragedy from 1999. Now from here to the top, these are albums I love listening to all of them. Solitude Within, Nosferatu, She Speaks to the Dead. I mean, just thunder from beginning to end on this album. 2014, Hymns for the Broken. That's number 5 on my list. This is the one that came out after Glorious Collision. And to me, this is their return to form. This is where they've finally gotten back to just what Evergrey ought to be. The title track is amazing. A New Dawn, An Archaic Rage. The Grand Collapse is a spectacular 7.5 minute song to listen to. So in terms of the overall discography, like Solitude, Dominance, Tragedy, and started off the ones that I really enjoy. There are a couple after that, and some in there, the next part, okay, I can take them or leave them. But then by the time we get to Hymns for the Broken, man, they are back. The most recent CD, The Atlantic from 2019, comes in number 4 for me. The lead track, A Silent Arc, just sets the tone for that whole album. I love the nautical themes that go around in there. Maybe Evergrey and Ahab ought to do a double bill someday. Weightless, End of Silence, and Currents, just all fabulous tunes. And then my top 3, The Storm Within, 2016, their second most recent CD, Passing Through, In a Stray, My Allied Ocean, the title track. I'll say something about that and when I get to my top 10 favorite songs. Just a tremendous CD all the way through. The song In Orbit, they have a video for that. He does a duet with Flora Jansen from After Forever, and of course now from Nightwish. Just amazing stuff. Number 2 is the first Evergrey disc I ever heard, In Search of Truth from 2001. Concept album about the aliens. It's great from beginning to end. It opens with the master plan, and not only is this one of the best album openers that is out there, it's a great concert song. The audience singing along, and just the drive that song has. Watching the skies, the encounter, dark waters, man, it's like the X-Files in audio form. My favorite Evergrey CD is Recreation Day, for their 4th one from 2003. I mean, to me, it's hard to believe that's only a 4th CD because it's a very, very musically mature album. The Great Deceiver, the opening track, almost as good as the master plan as an album opener. The title track, Recreation Day. I guess that, from Tom England's comments before that, I think I've heard him say this, or I've heard somebody say that he said this. It's actually supposed to be Recreation Day. The album is about recreating yourself, but with the spelling of recreation in English, there's no way to really emphasize that it's a recreation, and I think everybody just calls it Recreation Day. A couple of really, really great slower songs, I'm Sorry and Blinded, and if you don't have the bonus version of this with Trilogy of the Damned on it, go get it. You won't be sorry. So there's my preference ranking of Evergrey discs. Again, at the top, Recreation Day, then In Search of Truth and The Storm Within. I would call those the holy trinity of Evergrey albums. And then the most recent one, The Atlantic, Hymns for the Broken, Solitude, Dominance, Tragedy, Glorious Collision, The Dark Discovery, Monday Morning Apocalypse, Torn, and The Inner Circle rounds out the end of the list. And now I'll tell you my top 10 favorite Evergrey songs, which appear in the radio show Mostly Metal this week. Okay, this week's Mostly Metal features my top 10 favorite songs by Evergrey. Next week's Mostly Metal is going to be Jethro Tull. I think I've set up this kind of rock and roll metal pattern of doing these top 10 lists in the show, and I'm going to try to keep it up. So this week, Evergrey. Next week, Jethro Tull. Evergrey, my top 10 favorite Evergrey song is Obedience off of Monday Morning Apocalypse. I just love the drumming in this is just intense. And it's a song that's like many on Monday Morning Apocalypse and Torn. It's a little shorter, and it hits you in the face, and it does its business, and then it gets out of there. Number 9, My Allied Ocean off of The Storm Within. The Storm Within is just spectacular all the way through. That song stands out to me as one of the best. Number 8, the title track off of Hymns for the Broken. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that a heavy metal singer is soulful, but I kind of think of Tom Englund as the Michael McDonald of heavy metal, because when he gets in that emotional, soulful zone, he just nails it. And his vocals on the title track of Hymns for the Broken just give me shivers. Next up, Nothing is Erased off of Torn. This one and Obedience go together because of the structure, just shorter songs, pound, 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 get in there, hit you, get out. Number 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, Words Mean Nothing off of Solitude, Dominance, Tragedy. One of the ways I know I've heard a good song is I hear it when I'm not really aware of what I'm listening to, meaning I'm watching Evergrey play in concert, and they play the song that I don't recognize because I didn't own all their albums at the time. And then, sometime later in the future, I get the CD and I am listening to the songs, and I hear this song, and it just triggers this memory. I already know what the lyrics are going to be. I know it's going to sound like, because when I heard it in concert, it just stuck with me so well. And then it comes back to me years later when I finally listen to it on a CD, and Words Mean Nothing is one of those. I hope they keep that in their playlist for a long time. Title track off of Recreation Day is next. Another one of these where the voice, Tom Englund, is just amazing when he gets in that zone. Fourth is Weightless off of The Atlantic. I believe that's the second song on the album, and I just love the moods that album sets up. It's got heavy parts, it's got slower parts, it just goes all over the place. Number 3, The Great Deceiver off of Recreation Day. This just blasts you in the face with some speedy guitar work. I mean, in a lot of bands you hear about drum fills. I'm not a drummer, I can't make my own drum fills, but I hear people talk about them a lot. Tom Englund does machine gun fast guitar fills. The guitaring on The Great Deceiver and other songs like Nothing is Erased off of Torn, he just plays these little licks really fast that fill in spots and transition from one line to the next in the vocals, and just makes the songs very dynamic, and The Great Deceiver does that for me. My second favorite is The Encounter off of In Search of Truth. Now, from my ranking of the albums, you might think I would have said The Master Plan as one of my tops, but The Encounter to me even beats that one. The Master Plan, like I said before, is a great concert tune. So is The Encounter, but to me, Master Plan is like a great song to open a concert with. But The Encounter is just all catchy as all hell. It's a really good representative of that album. And my favorite Evergrey song, which I knew it was my favorite as soon as I heard it the first time, I was like, holy, this is a good song for me. If you've watched my other videos, you know that one of the things that I just love is a really thick, deep chord that somebody hits on an electric guitar, and then they just let it hang in the air. And the title track off of The Storm Within has that in spades. It's not a fast, intense song. It's slower, but boy is it heavy, and boy does it have those thick hanging chords that Tom Englund hits and then just lets them fly there. in space for a while before he takes them away with the next notes. Just really, really good stuff. So that's one of those songs that I just close my eyes and lean back and listen to and let it get me. So that's it. My top 10 favorite Evergrey songs to be played on Mostly Metal this Sunday night. During the show from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. U.S. Central Time. WVLP.org is where you can hear it streaming. Next week I'm going to do my top 10 favorite Jethro Tull songs, so please come back and check it out.